Esiet sveicināti raidījuma ciklā Uzzini, pirms, dodies, droša darba ceļvedis Eiropā. Mani sauc Andris Segļņš, esmu Nodarbinātības valsts aģentūras Eiropas darba mobilitātes konsultants un šī raidījuma cikla vadītājs. Raidījumos mēs apskatām jautājumus, kur ir būtiski dodoties uz ārvalstīm, par darba meklēšanu dažādās Eiropas valstīs, par reģistrācijas procedūrām, ierodoties valstī, darba līguma nosacījumiem un citām praktiskām lietām. Katrs raidījums ir veltīts vienai valstī, un šodien mēs runāsim par Somiju. Uz raidījumu esmu aicinājis Somijas nodarbinātības dienesta starptautiskās darbiekārtošanas un EURES pakalpojumu speciālisti Saiju Repo. Hello, Saja.
Hello.
And let's start our conversation with an overview of labor market in Finland. And tell us what are trends of the labor market now and what sectors are developing and employees are demand, and maybe you have also some sectors with surpluses of employees.
Yes, first of all, thank you, Andres, very much for having me here. It's really nice to be part of this event, and I'm happy to share with you you and the listeners all the information I can give. And yes, with the labor market situation in Finland, at the moment, it's not the most optimistic outlook because there has now been economic slowdown with a rise in prices and interest rates and some weaker export. So it's not the most optimistic one. I think the unemployment rate is now around 7.3 the last time I checked. But despite this, there are still many sectors which are lacking skilled workforce. And these include healthcare, which is missing nurses and assistant nurses, dentists, and then of course also ICT is in need of highly skilled specialists. And then there are some shortages also in with restaurant workers and so on. So maybe quite common professions that many European countries are missing workers for. So this is still relevant. And then with surpluses, I would say some basic secretarial workers, for example, those are on the surplus side. But yes, that would be my answer to your question.
Thank you. And if we talk further about looking for a job in Finland, then if someone is interested in looking at job opportunities, then where and how to look for a job?
Yes, I would recommend visiting the public employment services job advertisement site. You can find it in English, Job Market Finland, and that is maybe the most common way to look for a job. It posts all the jobs in Finland, or most of the jobs in Finland. Then if you want to go to directly to look for English language job advertisements, I would recommend to go to Work in Finland website. You can find all the job advertisements which are in English language there. And at the same time, this Work in Finland site offers a lot of other useful information for newcomers to Finland. So that is another good reason to check out that website. So those would be good places to start.
Yes, and we will put your mentioned resources in our chat box for our viewers to better finding job advertisements and job opportunities. What role of the social networks play in job search these days in Finland?
I would say that they play a relevant role. Of course, it's good, especially if you arrive here as someone's spouse. So maybe you don't have an employment immediately. So I think it's very good advice to take a benefit from the social networks available on LinkedIn, but then also look for another social networks, maybe regionally, that are happening online, or maybe there are some meetups, really depending on the place you come to. So it's a good idea to, I think, to look out all the possible ways of connecting with the local people or connecting with the other international job seekers in your region.
Yes. And if you are looking for a job in another country, then of course the issue of knowledge of foreign languages is relevant. And how important is the knowledge of Finnish language for job search, and maybe what other languages could be useful? And I know that in Finland you has two official languages, Finnish and Swedish. And Finnish, of course, is the main language. And but how much Swedish is also used, and can it be useful for job search? But at first about the Finnish language. How about the Finnish language?
Yes, in Finland, I would say that it's a really big advantage that most of our population speaks English. So you can get by in everyday life quite easily just by using English. In working life, I would say that still many companies have this requirement of knowing Finnish. But more and more companies are adjusting to the English speaking working environment, especially if they are looking for highly skilled workers. So it's also a must to adjust to this. And then I think it also depends on you. If you want to, of course, understand the society better and maybe network better, it's a good idea to learn the local language, at least a little bit. And then depending on your region where you move to, I think there might be different opportunities for that. And then with the Swedish language, it's yes, it's our second language or official language. It's mainly spoken on the west coast of Finland and then as well in the capital region. So there are areas in Finland where it's the most spoken language, but then on the other hand, there are also areas in Finland where Swedish is not used that much, such as in the north or in the eastern parts. So that also depends where you move to. That if you go to some very small place in the west coast, you might get by just by using Swedish there.
Yes, but in any way, in my opinion, if you know local language, you have better opportunities to find a job. It's the first thing, and then also better opportunities for career goals, I think.
Yes. I think it really depends on your sector and the company, but all in all, yes, it's a good idea.
And a well-prepared CV is important in the job search process. And what are your recommendations for preparing a CV for job search in Finland? Maybe what is the traditional CV length? What to include, and should we attach a photo?
Yes, so I would say that in Finland, the regular length for a CV should be a maximum 2 pages. I think it's preferred that it's more like shorter than very long. And I think any standard CV template, more maybe if you like the visual CV, then you can use that kind of template that you can find on the internet. It's okay. And then with the photo, you can attach it to your CV, but it's not necessary, and it's actually not even allowed in Finland to ask you to attach a photo to your CV. So it's not necessary, but I think most of the people will have a photo there on their CV.
Thank you. And do Finnish employers usually require also an application or motivation letter to be attached to the CV?
Yes, the most common request if you have an open job ad is that they ask you to send your CV and a cover letter. And the same goes with the cover letter, that it should be, I think, 1 page is an average length, and then your CV should accompany that. And then, of course, bigger companies nowadays, they have these sites where they might have already this form ready, where they ask you to fill in all the details. And then maybe they also, I've seen now companies using this video CV on their websites, that they ask you to introduce yourself and then send a kind of a live introduction. So also that might happen.
Yes, and one additional question regarding application. How important are reviews from a previous employer? Is it a good thing or it's not necessary?
References.
Yes, references.
Yes, I think it's a good idea to mention that you have references on your CV, so you can mention them there, and then you can add that you can give the contact information if requested, or then directly put the contact information if it's, for example, possible through LinkedIn or something like that. But yes, you can definitely mention references, but usually I think it's done on the CV part.
Yeah. And if I have found a suitable job offer, the next step is to apply for a job. And what are the ways to apply for a job? Job candidate usually needs to send an application by email, or is there also some websites where companies are asked to fill in some forms, or maybe it is also recommended to visit the company in person?
Yes, well, I think the most important thing is to read the job advertisement carefully and then follow the guidelines that are there. So if the company asks you to use their own portal for submitting your application and CV, then you should do that. But then if they request your CV and cover letter, then to do that. And many companies, then they have included a time when they can be reached through phone if you want to ask something or make a personal introduction. So I think all the relevant information on how to apply or how to contact the employer, there should be there in the job advertisement.
And that means that we have carefully read the job advertisement, and then there will be information about application process.
Yes.
Okay. And then if our job application has been successful and our employer has accepted our candidacy, then of course next step is to travel to Finland and start employment. And tell us what are the most important registration procedures what we will have to do on arriving in Finland.
Yes, so this I can give you good news with this, that there has been now a lot of improvement with making the processes easier for newcomers. For example, now in the capital region, we have an international house Helsinki. It's an actual place where a newcomer can go and take care of all the registration issues in the same place and at the same time, if they have booked the appointments in advance. So there's a lot of improvement with that, and all the major cities have also followed this trend that these international houses, they now exist in other bigger cities, such as in Turku and Oulu, for example. So it's a good place to check if the city where you are moving, they have this kind of service available. And then the registration issues themselves, the important thing is to register your residency. So if you are a European Union citizen, you should register if you are planning to stay over 3 months. And this you can do in the immigration service, or which is maybe then inside already one of these international houses. So that is an important step to register your residency. Then, of course, if you're a non-European Union citizen, it's a different procedure for that. Then another important thing is to register for the Digital and Population Data Services Agency. A little bit a difficult name, but I will send you links later on. In short, it's DVV, and you should register your address where you live, and this will give you access to the services the municipality offers, such as healthcare and daycare. So it's very important step, and also to register these things that you get your ID code, Finnish ID code. So for this, and then of course after that, the tax issues, you will need a tax card if you start the employment, and then also possibly other relevant issues. But to keep it short, I would just say that I can recommend you to visit the International House Helsinki website, and already from there you will see a lot of information about the registration issues. So it should be quite clear.
Yes, and it's good news for newcomers in Finland that processes are more simple now.
Yes.
Yeah. And yes, you mentioned the employment contract. When starting employment, of course, it is necessary to conclude. And tell us how employment contract is concluded in Finland, and what working conditions are included in employment contract. Maybe some most important things.
Yes, so work contracts usually in written, or should be in written, and they should include all the most important terms of the employment. So your working hours, salary, and your holidays, things like that, and I don't know if I have anything more specific to say about that, except that you should ask a work contract in written, and then see that all the relevant things are there.
Yes, I know regarding Finland that one thing which should be considered is that regarding salary level, and I know that usually salary level is determined by a collective agreement. That's
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes, so we don't have any universal minimum wage per se, but all the wages for different sectors, they are regulated in the collective agreements. So usually also this is mentioned in your work contracts.
Yeah,
and you can also check those then.
Yes, it's also an important thing to check is this information correctly in labor contract. Okay, and when we are going to another country for work, of course, finding accommodation and housing is also another important issue. Can you tell how and where to search for accommodation in Finland?
Yes, well, of course, maybe the easiest way is to start online through internet. There are some sites available where you can see the rental options, for example. Um, I think hopefully maybe also the future employer can give some advice on how to look for housing or can give some help with that. I think it depends on where you are moving to. That is it going to be how easy or how difficult? And for example, here in the capital region, it might be more difficult if you want to live in the city center to find the suitable place. So I have no general like a guideline for this, but maybe just when the situation is clear and you know where you're going to move, then start to look through internet. And as I mentioned, English is a quite common language in Finland, and it means that many websites that promote rental apartments or promote housing, they also have their websites in English. So it should be easy to find the information.
Yes, but as you also mentioned, it could be useful to ask employer about possibilities to provide or to provide help in
Yes.
finding accommodation. Yes.
Yes,
Also,
yes, and also then these international houses, as I mentioned, they also they have at least International House Helsinki has information sessions online, which are available for people who are planning to move to Finland. So you can attend those online and get information about Finland, about what it means to be living and working here in the capital region. And then also they give information about where to look for housing.
thank you. And to compare some expenses between Latvia and Finland, could you give some examples of cost of living in Finland?
Well, once again, depends a little bit where you live. That, of course, if you consider the rental prices in the capital region, they are much higher than in maybe in some other parts of Finland. So that is the first thing. And in the capital region can be quite high. I don't know. There can be a lot of cultural variation here. In Finland, I think people tend to live quite in small apartments. I think it's not uncommon that a person, if they're living alone, they are living in 30 or 40 square meter apartment, even smaller. And in the capital region, the rent for that, it might be even if you want to live in the city center for even closer to 1,000 euros a month or 800 euros a month. But then if you go outside, it can be a lot less. So it really depends on your own standard, what you want.
Yes, it always depends on where are you going and where are you staying.
Yeah.
Is it a large city or is it maybe some village or so on?
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of our conversation, I would like to ask a question: why to choose Finland as a destination country?
This is a good moment to mention that we are ranked the happiest country in the world. I think now a sixth year in a row. So I think there are things that people appreciate here. in Finland, and I think they come down to, first of all, the safety. I think it's a safe place to live, a safe place for families as well. Thinking about family, I think one good point is the work-life balance here in Finland. The regular or standard working day, it's 8 hours, and it leaves you time to do also other things in your life, and it's all quite regulated. And then also work itself or working culture, there is a very low hierarchy. So when you're working, you have a lot of usually a lot of independence and autonomy, and I think that also impacts your overall well-being, that it's quite many times quite easygoing work culture that we have here, and also safe and regulated in many ways. So these are the things, and then one thing, of course, is the beautiful nature and the proximity of nature. Even if you live in the city, you have the nature close by. So I think that is also a good thing.
Thank you. I will say thank you for your information and for our conversation. Thank you, Saija.
Thank you so much.
Un mūsu skatītājiem arī teikšu paldies par skatīšanos. Un, ja jums nepieciešama papildus informācija gan par darba meklēšanu, gan par citiem jautājumiem, piemēram, tiem pašiem darba līgumu slēgšanu citās Eiropas valstīs, sociālo drošību vai starpvalstu nodokļu jautājumiem, tad aicinu vērsties pie mūsu Nodarbinātības valsts aģentūras EURES konsultantiem, kuri tad sniegs jums arī nepieciešamo informāciju un atbildes uz jūsu jautājumiem. Paldies vēlreiz visiem par skatīšanos un uz tikšanos nākošos raidījumos.